Robinhood, Men in Tights, 1993. 12 Shocking Facts You Didn't Know. I thought I knew Robinhood, Men in Tights. Then I started digging into how this ridiculous little movie actually came together, and I realized there was much more going on behind the jokes. Some of the strangest moments weren't accidents at all. They came from casting disasters, old Mel Brooks ideas, and decisions made right before the cameras rolled. And the first one still makes me laugh. 2. Sean Connery almost returned as King Richard. Here's one casting idea I wish had actually happened. Sean Connery had already appeared as King Richard in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So Brooks considered bringing him back. But there was a twist. The proposed joke involved Connery returning as Queen Richard. Yes, Sean Connery, in a dress, for one day of filming. The reported price was enormous compared with the rest of the production, and the idea eventually disappeared. Instead, Patrick Stewart took the role, and Stewart played Richard with such serious Shakespearean dignity that the joke became even better. I actually think that's one of the film's smartest choices. You take an actor associated with serious drama, put him in the middle of a completely ridiculous comedy, and ask him to behave as though nothing unusual is happening. That dead serious performance makes everything around him funnier. 3. Hulk Hogan could have been Little John. Before Eric Allen Kramer became Little John, another enormous personality was considered: Hulk Hogan. In the early 1990s, Hogan was everywhere. Wrestling superstar, movie star, family comedy leading man. So Little John seemed like an obvious fit. But Hogan didn't take the role. Kramer did. And looking back, I'm glad he did. Because Little John needed more than muscles. He needed to be lovable. He needed to look intimidating and then immediately become ridiculous. Kramer could do both. And some of the funniest moments come from watching this giant man completely lose his nerve. That wouldn't necessarily have worked with a performance built entirely around Hogan's larger-than-life persona. 4. The cast actually trained for the sword fights. This part surprised me. Because Men in Tights is a spoof, you'd expect the action to be intentionally sloppy. It wasn't. The actors trained seriously for the sword sequences. They reportedly spent weekends practicing their choreography under stunt professional Victor Paul, and Cary Elwes had an advantage. He had already learned fencing for The Princess Bride, so while the others were learning the basics, Elwes already understood the rhythm. That's important because the comedy only works if the sword fighting underneath it looks convincing. The more seriously they fight, the funnier the joke becomes. And you can see that discipline in the finished film. Even when someone is about to do something completely stupid, the movement itself often looks surprisingly polished. 5. The movie was partly a second chance for an old Mel Brooks idea. Here's something I didn't realize at first. Robin Hood, Men in Tights wasn't Mel Brooks' first attempt at making fun of Robin Hood. Back in 1975, he had created a television comedy called When Things Were Rotten. It lasted only 13 episodes. The show took the same basic approach: Robin Hood, Sherwood Forest, anachronistic jokes, and complete disrespect for the legend. It didn't last. But Brooks apparently wasn't finished with the idea. Years later, the concept returned as a feature film, and this time he had a much bigger canvas, more money, more elaborate sets, more elaborate action, and, frankly, much better timing. What had once been a short-lived television experiment became a movie that eventually found a huge second life on home video and television.